My name is Laura Patrick, and I'm telling you my quilt story from Faith Presbyterian Church in Huntsville, Alabama on Thursday, November 15th, 2018. So this quilt, this butterfly quilt, belonged to my mother. And it was made in 1938 by my grandmother. 37 to 39, so we'll average it out about 38, when my mom was about a year or two old. Now it was quilted by my great-grandmother, Georgia Emma Haraway Huey, before she died in 1948. And the story about this quilt is my grandmother and grandfather got divorced in the early 40s when my mom was just a little girl. And that's kind of unheard of in the early 40s. But my grandfather's mother really liked my grandmother. So that's why she quilted this quilt for my grandmother to give to her daughter. And it took my grandmother 4 tries before she found the right guy, which was my step-grandfather. So if you have a quilt that has a history to it, sometimes that's the only thing you may have of a great-grandparent or a grandparent that's left that tells their story. So my mom cherished this quilt. She got it when she went off to college. And back in the early 80s, my brother was cleaning his car and he needed something to dry it with. So he went in the house, pulled out this quilt and dried the quilt, dried the car. Left the quilt outside, and the dog proceeded to get the quilt and chewed a hole in it. Now, my mother found that out when she found it in the yard. I have never heard somebody scream and yell so loud. I think his life was actually in danger. And anybody who quilts would know, oh my goodness, I can't believe somebody would do that. So she forbade him from ever getting a quilt, even after she died. Before she died in '06, she said, he's not to get a quilt. I don't want anything to happen to my quilt. So if you ever do anything when you're a child, people never forget about it. And if you do something about a quilt that's been passed down through 2 generations, forget ever owning anything like that again. So when my mother did pass away, I did not give my brother a quilt, but I did leave quilts to his wife. So technically my brother did get it. I couldn't do that, not give a quilt to a family member. So this is the quilt story about this quilt. Does it make it any less valuable because it has a hole in it? Well, no, I think that's what gives the quilt personality. So that is my quilt story about this quilt made in the late 30s by my grandmother and my great-grandmother.